This light has probably been the hardest light for me to review. Not for the reasons you might think. I guess you could say I'm kind of in the dark, trying to figure out the best way to review this. Alright, for years now, you've seen me use these ePhoto fluorescent lights. They work pretty well. They have a bit of a green tint to them I always have to remove, either in camera or in post. But they create a very nice diffused light with the amount of area we have right here. I use them in interviews a lot. I use them in my office a lot. Totally silent. There's no fan, but they're big and bulky. So if you're traveling these with your car, you almost never want to break them down because they're a pain in the butt to put that wire back in, and it's just not even worth it. You just throw them in the car and hope for the best kind of thing with the fluorescent lights. And hopefully the mercury doesn't spill in your car while you break one of the bulbs, which would never happen. Then we have this. This is a very thin light, as you can see. It's an LED, no fan, totally silent, doesn't draw much power. This one, the beauty of this one, which the fluorescent doesn't do, is I can be in daylight or I can go to tungsten. And it is almost, I would say, almost as bright, depending on how you look at the pattern of the light and where you're measuring it. It's almost as bright as my ePhoto. Doesn't have the amount of square surface area, or the area basically of the softbox, but it's extremely portable. You're not going to break any bulbs. There's no fan, and it's pretty darn good. There is less green in this light than the fluorescent, so this is easier to get right in camera, and it's easier to do right in post. So then, that light I've been reviewing for B&H. This light, this one is made by a different company, or is it? You look on the back of the, here, it says C700RSV, same part number, but it's has a different brand. Both of them are made in China, and it's. I started thinking to myself, well, wait a minute, what's the difference between this light and the FotodioX? And there's not much difference. In terms of how they are similar, they're exactly the same size, they're exactly the same width, they have the exact same controls, they have the exact same battery mounts, they have the exact same knobs, they have the exact same stickers. They even have, I don't know if you can see it, but they have the exact same serial number in the exact same place. So I started thinking, well, if one is made by the original, let's say FotodioX, which is this one, and the other one is a fake or a copy, then we're going to see some differences when I look at them more closely. So I plugged them into the wall, turned them full bright, 5600K, and they both had identical wattage coming out of the wall. I can't remember exactly what it was. It was 69 watts, which is actually kind of interesting because that fluorescent I just showed you was 137 watts. And remember, these are about the same brightness as a fluorescent, and they use like half the power, which is amazing, than the fluorescent. So they're more efficient. They put out a lot of light, and they're nice and diffuse. So we've got a lot of similarities here. And another thing I did is I brought them and I looked at them. I'll show you kind of a graph right here of the difference, or looking at them in terms of the highlights and the midtones and the darks in terms of how much green is in each part of that spectrum, and they look identical. Because one of the major concerns I had was, well, if I buy this cheaper one or less expensive one right here, I keep getting confused which one they are. I thought, well, maybe they're going inexpensive on the LEDs that go around the edge here. And maybe they're not pixel binning, but they're part binning, where they're like good one, bad one, good one, and all the good ones would go into the expensive unit, and all the bad ones would go over here. Well, I don't have any way of measuring CRI, and I think CRI is kind of a joke anyway, but all the tests I've run on, they seem totally identical. And one more similarity, they both come in an identical case of the exact same parts, with the exception of batteries. On this FotodioX, I've gone ahead and mounted the 2 batteries it comes with, and these are decent batteries. These are really good. The best ones I've tested, the Sony batteries. You turn it on, it works great. See, I have no power connected right there. These batteries actually will last, I'll show you a time lapse, but they last about an hour, maybe hour and a half, hour 40 minutes before you actually start to see them dim. So it'll actually go past 2 hours, but they become more dim. So if you're using an interview, I wouldn't go past an hour and a half. But you could travel extremely light with these, because all you need to do is travel with the batteries and the light, throw them almost in like a suitcase, and you're good to go. You have a couple of these, you could do an interview. So if you remember correctly, I had Watson batteries I reviewed against the genuine Sony batteries, and the Watsons actually beat the Sony batteries. Well, you know what? I was thinking these are going to be cheap. FotodioX is going to throw in some cheap batteries. Well, they didn't. These are actually better than the Watsons. These actually go longer. These last about maybe an hour and a half before they start to dim, where these last about an hour and 45 minutes. So what is the other difference? The big difference at the beginning of this review is this light was on B&H for $700. In fact, it still is. And I was just told by FotodioX that this light now is much less. It's $550. Let me pull up my numbers here. $550. So the big question is, how much did I buy this one months ago? Remember, this is just on loan. I bought this one for $430. $430. So at the time when I bought it, $430 is a lot less than $700. But now this one is $550. So let's do the math. This one doesn't come with batteries. Even if you were to buy the Watson batteries like I did, these are $60 a piece. It's $120. This also, if you bought this from B&H, it would be free shipping for the most part. Pretty much, they're always free shipping. But this one, I believe, cost like $50 to get shipped from China. So if you add 60 plus 60 plus 430, that's $550 plus another $50 in shipping. This one's $600. This review is probably been one of the hardest reviews to do, not because any like technical issues or anything like that, or time consuming, but hardest in terms of just the political side of things. Now, this is like the 5th take I'm trying to do on this part of the video, and I'm just gonna get this right. This is the last take I'm doing. I am not a trained journalist. I went to school at University of Miami. I have a Bachelor of Music in audio engineering. Not in journalism. I'm an audio guy by trade, and now I'm doing video. So let me put it this way. I don't want to spend 90% of the time, my precious time. In fact, I have like in 50 minutes, I've got to go meet somebody at Starbucks to start talking about the next video. It's a fundraising video, and I don't have time to like spend all this time trying to track down who makes the light, who's licensed to maybe copy the light, or who's licensed to use it in what country at a certain time. I don't have time for that. If I did, I would spend 90% of my time on the political side of things and maybe 10% of the time actually doing the review on the technical side. I would much rather not do that. And so that's why I have opted, and I want to be fair to you guys because I want to be as open, as transparent as I can on these reviews. That's why I'm not saying the model this light, because this manufacturer, FotodioX, says that this company is selling them, perhaps, I forget the word they use, maybe it's illegally, or they're not allowed or licensed to sell in the United States, or again, I don't even want to get into that. But I make courses, like I just released the Sony A7R II course. And I understand some people are going to illegally obtain it, and I understand. And FotodioX probably realizes some companies are going to steal their design, or maybe physically steal their units out of their factory. I have no idea. Again, I don't really want to get into the political side of things. So that's why I'm not saying the model or the manufacturer. They're the same model. Now, where I'm kind of get around this whole issue is this light. I actually own 2 other lights made by this company. I have another one right here. This was really nice. It's bicolor as well. This one is the C218AS. And then I have a granddaddy of lights over here. I'm going to show you in a second, made by the same company. I'll show you in some B-roll. It's huge. And that one, FotodioX does not sell in the United States right now. So maybe apparently that one's okay to talk about. Maybe I'll talk about it later. But you guys as an audience, I think, are smart enough to take the model numbers of these lights, find the prices that I've given you, and you could probably figure it out on by yourself. Like I said, there's 4 of them. I can tell you, I can verify that this one that I bought is exactly the same as this one. Now, if you wait around in a week or so, I've got another review of another light that I'm reviewing from this company. So you'll actually hear me talk about this company in a future video. Let me show you. This is just part of it. I've taken the whole thing apart. And by the way, I'm filming on the A7S II, which I just got in. And I'm using this kind of as a test with autofocus. So I got face detection turned on, and I got my f-stop f7.1. This is an LED light. It actually goes kind of like in a strobe housing. It's a hard light, and it has kind of a lens in here that kind of diffuses the light. But I've been running some tests. It's really loud, so I took it all apart, and I'm putting a new fan in it. But if you wait around a week or so, I'm going to be talking about this light, and this light is made by the same company that sells this light. So it's not going to be too hard for you guys to figure out what I'm talking about. But just, you know, to be kind to FotodioX, who may or may not have designed the light, I don't know. Like I said before, I reviewed these lights like a year ago. I made a whole bunch of suggestions, and nothing's been changed. So is FotodioX making them? I don't know. Do I want to like spend, 20 hours trying to figure out who makes the darn light? I don't want to do that. That's not why I started this YouTube channel, is to get into this political mess. But why do this review at all? Why even look at the FotodioX? The only reason I'm doing it is because I know what's going to happen is, since I'm not using my old fluorescent lights now, and you'll see these lights in my shots sometimes, you're going to say, well, what lights are they? And I'm going to have to talk about them at some point in time. So that's pretty much the review. Again, just to recap, I really like them. I bought them. I don't own the FotodioX. I own this one. I'm thinking about buying another one. And I have that really big one. I've got that one. They're small, they're thin, they're light, they don't make any noise. The quality is there. It says on the back CRI of 93. I don't know if I believe it or not, but for the most part, you don't have to take much green out of them. Very little compared to my fluorescents. And at this point, I'm pretty much rambling. I didn't get much sleep last night, so I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.